And now, for today's script, it's a doozy. Let me read for you. Overthinking arises when our imposed beliefs battle with our true desires. I do write some good shit every once in a while. You guys can hear me, yeah? Yeah. So, there's a note basically by Miyamoto Musashi that I wrote here. So, observing the battle gives us a choice to which side wins. And I'm very curious to why I used choice. Oh, yes, 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 yes. Because here, overthinking arises when our imposed beliefs battle with our true desires. So, what we're doing is we're observing this battle, and it seems to be inspired by something I read by Miyamoto Musashi. So, overthinking arises when our imposed beliefs battle with our true desires. So, uh, imposed beliefs. I think any belief is imposed. It seems like when it comes, because beliefs are based in ignorance, and not that we are ignorant, but when we believe something to be true, that's because we're ignorant to whether it is or it isn't. We're not really sure of its nature. And I think we naturally create beliefs as human beings. One way or another, they kind of like direct us, but in most circumstances, they limit us. And again, like with any belief, you can extend to the end of it, and it's still going to be a belief. You're going to travel through that belief system. And the way I'm seeing it is like a circle with basically an angle coming from its diameter. So if I believe, for example, humans to be inherently good, for example, it means everything that considers humans to be inherently evil is blocked out of my system. And that's how beliefs work. So that's basically the limitation. They probably give us a scope in which for us to move better, because the last thing you want is to be going in all directions. It kind of like limits your direction, but you still have a direction to go. And these beliefs need to be addressed. It's like reminds me of a quote by Robin Williams, like politicians are just like diapers that have to be changed more often and for the same reasons, because eventually like it starts smelling like shit, the diaper, the same as a politician. But in a way, beliefs do the same, because like you believe something, but then you dive deeper into it. You're either going to dive deeper until another belief comes up or until it stops making sense. And I feel like there's a gray area between when a belief starts making sense, stops making sense, because all of them stop making sense. All of them stop making sense. Uh, there's there's a thing in philosophy called like the fallacy debate, I think, where basically there are things that you just can't debate because there's absolutely no way for you to get to the truth. Which means anything you believe in, you have to basically impose restrictions as you move forward in order to sustain it. Or as you move forward, you let go and then you develop different beliefs, or you just kind of like accept the fact that there are none, I guess. That is probably like what I'm trying to get at. But so when it comes to us and when we're thinking a bit too much, or when we're just not able to process, because like overthinking is just having the same idea, the same thought process just going around your head. And it feels like an eternal loop because it's kind of like it consumes you. Sometimes it just becomes, I remember times when I would just start basically walking around, looking at the ground, waiting for to calm down. And that happens only when basically I've walked enough to tire myself, so enough energy is basically wasted for my brain not to keep going in that loop until it kind of like tones itself down. I know how how the when you're not processing your thoughts properly, they could restrict you and they could lead to aggression, anger, nihilism. It can lead to all kinds of just kind of like giving up attitude. This, like, depending on the emotion, you just kind of like let go to that emotion and like relinquish yourself and allow it to just do its thing. Fuck it. I don't want to be present anymore. Let's see how bad it can be. And it's overthinking is basically it happens when you kind of like you either have a belief system that's limiting you or the outside world is limiting you and your belief system can't handle it. Now, don't get me wrong, I think life's job is to actually like impose limitations on us. Because ultimately, if I can't swim and I jump in the water, I might actually I probably will sink and die. But if I can't swim and I'm only used to lake swimming and I jump in the ocean, there's a high chance I sink and die. So ultimately, I think it's a survival thing that life does with us, where we kind of like, this is where I want to go. My desire is to be a swimmer, basically, that swims in the ocean. Then ultimately, it just kind of like, it just blocks you when you jump in the water until you learn how to swim. Then that's unblocked. It's a new level that you've reached. And then you jump in a lake and you swim for longer directions, and then maybe a river, and then you get used to tides, or it's just kind of like the flow of the river, and eventually like the oceans, the seas, and all that stuff. And then slowly, basically, you kind of reach that point. But if life doesn't really stand in your way, there's a higher chance you're going to kill yourself, or you're going to destroy yourself in the process, right? Because if we're talking like physically going out of the way, or that's just like the mental approach. Because what we're doing most of the time is like uh, when we're discussing society, all of this are mental approaches that have been created through the game of life, like concepts built on top of concepts and stuff like this. So your overthinking is basically like your beliefs are so whatever, however your mind processes things, which is normally based on the systems that you have. And they're probably belief systems before they're anything. And belief systems are built on top of value systems. So if you believe, if your values, for example, are honesty, and you have a decision to make that you have to probably lie for to actually make that decision, that will probably put you in a stressful situation. It's like, if your value is honesty, then your belief system is not lie, or I can't lie, or people don't lie, or just like anything that's not the truth, or whatever it is. So the belief system is built on top of the value system. And the value system, I think, is the core of how we acknowledge ourselves as individuals. So when we're overthinking, it's basically like us testing that limitation. And that's where the battle is, because like, because I want to do something, but something is limiting me from it. And the higher chance there's a higher chance of the limitation being basically something I am okay with. But at the moment, I'm not honest with myself, because am I willing to let go of something I used to believe in? Am I still going to be myself? And all of these, I think, are unconscious questions that we kind of like fight with. They're unconscious questions that we fight with instead of basically like, I don't think they're verbal because they're like innate and they're like primitive. So they're more on the emotional level or the feelings level. So you kind of like feel awkwardly or just and that creates an emotion if it's not handled. And then that emotion basically takes place in the real world where you're kind of like not thinking straight. And that's because like, you can't think straight because shit is around you, is surrounding you, is blocking you. So effectively, like observing this battle or acknowledging that like I'm overthinking allows us to be like, where are my thoughts coming from as an origin? Well, your first thing you're gonna look at is like, why are these thoughts like in my head? Well, these thoughts aren't in my head because this is what I want to do. The second thing you think about is, okay, like, but I'm thinking about them in this way, and then you basically get closer to the belief system. And then you realize that it's a battle between the desire to do something and a certain belief system that kind of is limiting it. So either you believe that you can't, or that you believe you shouldn't, or whatever it is. It's just like that kind of like back and forth between the systems. And our duty, I think, our presence in such moments are literally just like observing this battle between what do I want to get done, what am I attempting to do, and the belief system that kind of like is supposed to support it, but isn't really. Because if it's supporting it, it's harmonizing, we're fine. You don't overthink, you just go flow with it. But if it doesn't support it, then ultimately what you're doing is you're kind of like, let me go. Oh no, no, I don't want to let you go. This might change us. I want to change and all that kind of shit. And that's where the choice comes in, because observing the battle gives us a choice to which side wins. Because then we realize, like, are we choosing to keep this belief system that's no longer supporting us, or are we choosing to forsake it and actually go with that one and rediscover what new belief system is either showing up, or choose a different belief system that would support something like this and in the future reevaluate it. Sometimes I write some good shit, man. I love you guys.